Hey craft buddies, the sun is shining and it's officially summertime, so let's hop in, let's do some DIY and decor ideas for summer today. You're watching Whiskey and Whit. My name is Whitney, and if you love summer decor, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And also, if you're not already a craft buddy, head down and hit subscribe so you don't miss any future DIY or budget home decor ideas. Now let's hop into the first project. I absolutely love these. They are these cute little mini snow cones, and they're so easy to make with Dollar Tree supplies. From Dollar Tree, I grabbed some mini cups, styrofoam balls, and some straws. Now you can make large versions of these, and you can make them patriotic or regular for summer. You're going to cut your styrofoam ball directly in half and then use some hot glue to hook it to your cup. Then I am going to pop a hole into the side of that ball so I can insert a cut down straw, and then you can leave them as is, but it's fun to add some quote unquote faux syrup to these guys. So I used acrylic paint. I did full colors as well as the red, white, and blue on here, and I love how these turned out. These mini ones are great for tiered trays, but you can also make big ones for larger setups. They'd also be really cute for photo props for kiddos, so the sky's the limit. Now, if those looked good enough to eat, those you can't eat, but these next ones you definitely can. Last year in a mystery box challenge, I was set a box of chocolate cake mix, and I ended up turning them into cute little snow cones. All you have to do is grab some of these cute little containers from Walmart, and it will make them look like the cupcakes are actually snow cones. Then once they're baked and cooled, I created a little mohawk shape with some icing. I dunked that in some sprinkles, and then I continued on either side with the other colors to create a red, white, and blue look. The last step is to pop in a little straw, and these things are adorable. I packaged them up as a little hostess gift for 4th of July, but these would even be great to drop off to a neighbor or just to enjoy yourself. So super easy and fun way to make your cupcakes summer friendly. Again, you can make these into summer colors, some bright ones or pastels, instead of doing the patriotic, the sky's the limit. One of my favorite ways to decorate seasonally, and if you're a craft buddy, you know what I'm going to say, is free printables. My free file library has so many different options. I've got patriotic, I've got summer options. I even have proud to be Canadian with my proud to be American because I got requests for that. So there's a ton of options over in my free file library. You can scan this QR code to opt in for the password, or if you're already on my email list, just check the email that you recently got. It will have the current password in it and you can download away. Nothing says summertime quite like watermelon, so let me show you how easy this wreath is to put together. I grabbed some watermelon ribbon from Hobby Lobby, as well as a variety of different wired ribbon, burlap, and mesh from my stash. So we want 8-inch pieces here for our wreath, and a fun way to do that to save your sanity, because you're going to need like 35 of these pieces, measure 8 inches and then wrap it around like this. So just go over and over and over on each other. Then when you are to the end, you can just go ahead and snip right through one cut either end, and it will save your sanity, I promise, when we're cutting that many of all of these colors. I ended up needing about 35 bunches total, so I did that with my gingham, my watermelon, my burlap, and the green mesh tooling ribbon from Dollar Tree. Now for the burlap, this came from Hobby Lobby. They have it all the time in their seasonal sections. I decided to cut that into 3 strips, and then I decided to cut my green stuff into 2 sections. That way they were similar widths to my other ones so that one color didn't overtake anything. Then before we get adding them to our wreath, we are going to dovetail them. So fold it in half again, and then cut on an angle, and that is a quick way to dovetail. Now I did that on the gingham as well as the watermelon. I left the edges raw on the green and the burlap, and I think it added to the whimsy while having a little bit of finished with the dovetail. Then I'm going to put all 4 pieces together. You can kind of pinch the centers to put them together, and I'm going to use a white pipe cleaner to hook them together. Now you could easily use jute twine for this, but I find the pipe cleaners are a lot easier and quicker to attach because you just twist them instead of tying. I'm going to twist my pipe cleaner so that I have equal amounts on either side, twist it like a bread tie, give it a fluff, and then it's ready to be added to my wreath. This is an 18-inch wreath form, which just happened to be in my closet, but you can make this 12 inches on up, just whatever works. The bigger your wreath frame, the more clusters of ribbon you'll need. Then I'm going to use the bread tie technique again to hook my white pipe cleaners on to the wreath. I'm going to do a mixture of the center of the wreath and then the outside and the inside to get it to look full. The great part about wired edge ribbon is you can kind of fluff it as you go, cover any open areas, and that will help. Here's a tip for you if you don't make wreaths often. I like to just twist these pipe cleaners on the back together and tuck them in. But why I like to do this instead of cutting them is, say I want to edit the wreath or I want to take it apart and redo it, then that way I don't have all these half-cut pipe cleaners that I can't use again. Up next, grab anything that resembles a watermelon shape and we are going to paint it. I'm going to start by using a darker green color and doing a quick border around the outside. I decided to take the color all the way to the edge of the wood, but you could easily leave it just like this. Once we're done with the green, we're going to transition to a beautiful red color for the center. And once I'm adding this red, I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, but stick with me because it's not going to turn out how you think. After our base coat is done, we're going to take a lighter green and add some fun little stripes to the outside, and we're going to start the whimsifying of our watermelon process. Whimsy watermelon has a ring to it, don't you think? You know, I love the W's over here, so we're going to roll with it. Once I did 2 coats of that so it would pop on the darker green, I'm going to mix together the red that we used for the center as well as a little bit of white to create a pinky color. I'm going to use my brush to create some polka dots all throughout the red part to add a little bit more to the whimsy vibe. While my dots are drying, I'm going to go through with a white paint marker and create a little scalloping between the green and the red. That is going to allow you to clean it up. And I am a huge fan of adding details later to clean up your painting because I am not the cleanest, most detailed painter, but I get the job done. Then I'm going to use a black paint marker to add dashes and dots where the dark green is on the outside, as well as draw on a bunch of little watermelon seeds. While the watermelon seeds are drying, I also went through with my white paint marker to add that to the lighter green sections to give it a little bit of contrast. And then when your seeds are dry, I added just a little bit of extra oomph to the seeds, as well as adding these little kind of bubble reflections to my polka dots. I'm going to use some hot glue and some more pipe cleaners to attach it. If you are going to put this on your front door and it gets super hot, I would suggest using like staples or something else that will not melt. But because this is going to be an indoor, not on my front door wreath for me, I just went with the hot glue. I also popped off the back stand and hardware because I didn't need that and I wanted to sit more flush with the wreath. Then my last step was to figure out where I wanted my watermelon and my frame to go. I added it kind of anywhere it looked a little sparse, and then those pipe cleaners are perfect because you can kind of just shove them in the ribbon and get them to hook on. Don't do anything too heavy with this technique, but these were super light, so there was no big deal. Then my frame needed something in it, so I made a cute little printable that said Sweet Summertime with a watercolor little watermelon, and then I added a little bit of scrap ribbon to the top because of course at Dollar Tree their clip was not centered and it was driving me nuts, so I kind of wanted to camouflage it because it was screwed in and it was just going to be such a pain to move. I am so happy with how this turned out. Finn is obsessed with watermelon, so he was really excited to see this wreath. I love that it extends past like 4th of July. I can have this up all the way up to Labor Day, and I love the little pops of green in it as well. Here's another great way to save a ton of money but get really fun summer decor for your door. It's cardboard. I love using cardboard because I always have some of it laying around, and I'm sure you have some that you can find too. You can also do a similar thought process like this with Dollar Tree foam board as well, so there are a few different ways you can achieve this look. Start by tracing out your image, and I'm going to do a large popsicle, but you can do everything from watermelon, lemons, to patriotic, whatever you want for summer, sky's the limit. I painted the whole thing white, and then I did kind of a paint mixture of brown colors for the popsicle stick, and then I grabbed some fun summer colors to start painting my popsicle. You can do all one color, but I decided to do 3 colors. This was actually part of a mystery box challenge, so I had to use all the colors that she sent me. So I did the top blue and the bottom green. I did those separate so then I could do the purple in the center once those dried and be able to get a cleaner line. Then I'm grabbing my favorite paint markers from Amazon. I'm starting with black and I'm doing an outline. I like to leave little gaps. This is going to add to the whimsy. And then I decided to add some polka dots. So all you need to do is take that original color, so in this case the blue, green, and purple, mix them all with a little bit of white, and then add some polka dots to those elements. The different colors are going to pop because you mix the white in there, and it just adds a little bit of whimsy. Once you have all the polka dots painted, you're going to go back through with those paint markers and add kind of like a bubble reflection to the circles. And I do it on different sides. They don't all have to be on the same side. You kind of want to alternate. Then I'm going to go back around the outside with a little bit more white. And then I also added some little squigglies to fill the space. I'm doing that with both black and white paint markers. This is where you can kind of have fun and just do what you feel. Then I used some hot glue and jute twine on the back to stick everything down. Again, keep this in mind if it's going on your front door. The hot sun, if it's beaten down on your door, will definitely melt the hot glue. So think about that. You can attach it with something else if that's the case. And then I'm cutting a ton of different strips, just kind of like how I did in that watermelon wreath. I'm going to tie it together with some jute twine and add it to the front. I also added just a little Dollar Tree sign with a vinyl decal on it, but you could paint Hello Summer or you could just leave the popsicle as is. You would definitely not think this is cardboard just sitting there, but it makes it so much easier to store, and it's also a lot easier to hang, especially if you're doing it on your wall. You could do a little command strip and it's not as heavy as wood. And if you like that fun whimsy painting technique, you're going to love this next project too. From Dollar Tree, I grabbed some scrapwood pieces and some of these arrows. I grabbed 4 of them, but you can do as many as you want. I started by removing the hanger on the back because we're not going to need that, and then we are going to paint them. I did 1 blue, 1 red, and 2 white for a patriotic look, but you could do whatever suits your decor. I know I've been saying that for all the projects, but sometimes it just takes hearing that to think real quick how a project maybe isn't 100% your style can fit your home. We're going to start by adding some polka dots to our colored arrows, so white on the blue and the red, and then I did blue and red on the white ones. To make the polka dots, I'm just kind of swirling around my paintbrush. They don't have to be perfect. In fact, the more uneven they are, add to the whimsy. On the second one, I went through and taped off the top to make it look more of like a traditional firecracker, and I did the stars and stripes here. So my painter's tape, I use it a lot throughout this video. It is so easy to use to get those clean lines, and a lot of times you can reuse them. So if you're making a couple patriotic things or a couple things where you need lines, you can easily use the same piece of tape. Then I went around the outside with a dot dot dash motif just to start the whimsy process, and then I'm adding some of those little bubble reflections like I added on the ice cream before. This is a process where you can kind of go through, and I really just do what I feel. I find that using black and white as well as adding borders and squiggles really help, but it's one of those things that it's kind of just trust the process, and kind of whatever you feel you want to do will make it look fun, because again, the whimsy doesn't have to be perfect. Then while those were fully drying, I took some antique wax and covered the piece of wood that I got from Dollar Tree. You could easily use a paint stir stick or some scrap wood that you have. You could stain it, you could paint it. Then this is another free file library file, Uncle Sam's Grand Old Fireworks Emporium. I cut it out to size, applied it to the wood, removed the paper transfer tape, and then the last step is to just lay them down how you want, glue it all down, and then I added a hanger on the back. I love this. It comes out every year and it is a fun project. This would be another great one to do with kids. Let them decorate their own fireworks. If you've got 4 grandkids, 6, whatever, it could be grandma's fireworks or mom's fireworks. So many different options, and I love how it turned out. These next few projects are quick and easy, and they're Dollar Tree DIYs. A lot of these you can find at other stores too, so don't worry if you don't have a well-stocked Dollar Tree. The first thing you're going to need is either a wood-handled plunger from Dollar Tree or a dowel rod that looks like this from your local hardware store. Start by cutting off the ends if you're using a plunger. If not, your dowel rod will be ready to go. And then I cut mine into 3 different heights so they sat like this. You can do whatever length works for your space and your decor. I'm going to sand them down, and then I stained them in dark walnut by Minwax, and then using some painter's tape, I'm going to tape off just a different motif on each of them that I like. You can paint the whole thing one color, you can leave them like this, you can freehand. This is a great way to use your creativity to do whatever you want. But painter's tape is a great way to get a clean line like I did here. I'm doing red, white, and blue, and these are going to be fun little firecrackers. The last step is to take some jute twine. I just used Dollar Tree jute twine and took the 3-corded one, pulled it apart and trimmed them, glued them on, and they're good to go. But I've also used some Dollar Tree like this like wire confetti stuff. I cannot remember what it's called, but this is another fun way to add some sparkle to your little fireworks. So whatever fits your decor, you can customize it to whatever you want. I know a ton of craft buddies decorate with the bee theme for summer, and I think it's such a fun one. A few years ago, I did a full video with bee DIY tutorials, so you'll definitely want to check that out. I'll have that linked up above and down below for you. I wanted to share this technique though because it's so easy to do and it really is great for bee decorations. So this is a Dollar Tree sign I added a simple decal to, but the big like piece de resistance with this is these little honey pot dippers. I got these from Amazon as well as these colored glue sticks, and I have an old glue gun that I put the colored glue sticks in, but all you have to do is add it, drip these like metallic-y almost sticks in the glue gun and put it on the sign, and look how real that looks. I put this on so many different things for my bee setups and they turn out so cute. So if you are a bee person, definitely check out that video for so many free printables, cut files, a lot more DIYs, and I will link the fun little bee dippers and the faux honey down below because it's so easy to do and it looks so real. These are also great to sell if you do vendor fairs because they just turn out so good. I also know a ton of you guys love to do lemon decor. A few years back, I threw a big lemon shower for my cousin Jade when she was getting married. And so I made everything from wood cutout lemons to garlands to full tiered tray setups. So I will link that as well. If you're interested in lemons, you're definitely going to want to check that out. For this next one, we are grabbing our supply in the Dollar Tree crafter aisle, and you're going to want something that is rectangular shape. So you can do anything from these little trays all the way up to the plus signs, scrap wood, whatever. You're just going to paint your base white, and then once that dries, take some pink paint and add a line on the left-hand side. We're going to try to make this look like paper, like a piece of paper from school. If you need to touch it up, do that. And then I cut out a decal 3 inches by 5 inches. This is free over in my free file library. And I cut it on the iron-on setting on my Oracle permanent vinyl. I'll have all my supplies linked down below, and it weeded really easily. Then I'm trimming down the side so I can line it up on my sheet and make a little tick mark where the lines start. That's how we're going to line this up so it looks like somebody wrote this on the lines of the paper. You could also just write it out yourself or create the lines first and then write over the top. You could even print out my cut file as just on regular paper, and then you could trace it on as well. So there's a few different options. If you're doing the decal, I recommend a paper transfer tape so you don't rip up all of that paint you just worked so hard to put down. And then we're going to line it up with those blue lines we made with the paint marker and then peel it back. The paint marker is an Arteza paint marker. It made it a lot easier, but if you want to paint it with a paintbrush, you can do that as well. And I finish it off with a little bit of jute twine, and this thing is ready to go. This size is perfect for smaller setups and tiered trays, but I also have a larger one that I put out with my wood flag, which I'll show you how to make a little bit later in the video, so you can do whatever works for your setup. This next project is a really fun, clever way to use a luau skirt. I'm using a Dollar Tree luau skirt as well as this out of office sign from Dollar Tree, but you can use any Dollar Tree sign or picture frame. And you're going to use some foam board from Dollar Tree to trim out a piece that is going to fit inside your frame. I'm going to cut 2 pieces so that it is the thickness of the frame, so it's all kind of flat. And then I am going to cut out a center image, so then that way I am turning this into a frame. Then it is time to grab our luau skirt and really make this feel tropical, nautical, summertime. I took it apart and I carefully removed some of the strands of the raffia from the skirt, and we're going to use that to essentially do like a faux braid around the outside. So I started by taking 2 pieces, tying it to one of the corners, and then we're going to do a loop similar to the friendship bracelets that were big in the 80s and 90s. I grew up making friendship bracelets like this, so that's why this loop kind of came to me. Here is a slowed down version of how I did it. You have 1 piece on the outside and you're going to create a loop, put your piece of raffia underneath the foam board, and then we're going to loop it through and tighten it. When I made it all the way down the side to the corner, I looped it around and started the next side without worrying about the corner because we'll cover that later. Once you get all the way around, I took some more raffia and just wrapped the corner instead of trying to braid it around the corner. That was going to be way too hard, and it also was going to pull too hard on the foam board and essentially break it. But once it was fully wrapped, I just secured it with hot glue, and I did that all around all four corners of the sign. Then it was time to attach to the frame, and so I did the 2 pieces of foam board on the inside so that when I added this frame to the outside, it was all kind of flat and you didn't have it sit in too far. I also glued it on so that the sign would still stand up on its own. Then I taped the end and braided together 9 pieces, so 3 sets of 3, for around the inner part of my what's going to be a photo frame. I thought this added a ton of great texture, and it also really went with the outside because of the similar color, but it gave you 2 different textures to mix it up. With the hot glue, I applied it all the way around, and I continued wrapping it until I was done with the piece. And then I kept continuing adding more braided pieces until I got to a point where I could add a picture in the center. Now for each of the ends, so they don't unravel, I'm just adding some tape, and that also helped to glue it and shove it under the edges so you didn't have anything fraying. I wrapped and wrapped until I got around the picture in the center, and this is a 3x5 approximately photo of us in Hawaii, and I thought it went really well with the raffia around the outside. This is a beautiful addition to our table outside, and I think I'm going to make another one with our family so that it can go on our table out on the patio. But this was quick and easy to put together. You would not think that it is Dollar Tree, and I also think it's funny that underneath it says out of office with a vacation picture. So I went to Walmart and grabbed one of these utensil caddies, and you could get them really anywhere. I just liked this one because it had a blank side. I went ahead and measured it, and then I also cut out this decal. It is free over on whiskeyandwhit.com. Just size it to your container, press it onto the side, and you have this super cute caddy that you can use to put everything in. You don't have to worry about dropping anything. I know if I load my arms up with graham crackers and chocolate and everything, I'm going to drop it on the way to the fire pit. Can't forget the marshmallows, and this thing is good to go. On top of having this for yourself this summer, you could also make this as a great hostess gift, 4th of July gift. Really, if you need something to give to anyone, housewarming, you could customize it with their own last name, and then you could just leave everything in their individual packaging and they're ready to go. One of my staples I break out for Patriotic Decor every year is this wood flag, and it is so easy and inexpensive to make. I started with a 24 by 16 inch pressed wood board from my local Menards, and I cut down a 1x2 furring strip into 2 24-inch pieces and 2 18-inch pieces for the frame. I stained the frame pieces with Minwax's dark walnut stain, and then I painted the wood base with 2 coats of Waverly's white chalk paint for full coverage on the base coat. Once it was dry, I taped off the top left quadrant for the stars of my flag, half across the top, and then marked down half on the side. I used my Cricut to make my stencil, but you can also use star stickers, or you can purchase a pre-made stencil for the stars online. I'll link some options down below. I used paper transfer tape from Amazon and some contact paper from Dollar Tree to make a really inexpensive stencil, and I painted the stars with Waverly's Ocean chalk paint using the dabbing method up and down. That will help avoid bleeding. I did 2 coats, and then I peeled the stencil off once it was dry. The next thing I did was tape off the stripes using 1.5-inch painter's tape, and then I painted those with Waverly's Crimson chalk paint, and you can adjust the tape width if you want thicker or thinner stripes on your flag. And once it was dry, I peeled the tape for that satisfying clean line reveal. I distressed it by sanding it down to give it a weathered vintage look. You can either use a power sander or do it by hand. And then for the frame, I flipped the wood to create a lip on the back versus the front like I typically do with my wood signs, and this helped it lean on my mantle. I attached the frame starting with those 24-inch pieces that line up perfectly on the long side, and then I added the 18-inch pieces so they overlap on the shorter side. Those extra 2 inches will help create that overlap of the frame. I attached all of those with my Ryobi nail gun with 1.5-inch brad nails. I love how rustic and patriotic this turned out. It's perfect for the 4th of July, and I have a ton more patriotic wood DIYs on my channel, like these firecrackers. I've got a porch sign, a pledge sign, and so much more. So I will link my full patriotic playlist up above as well as down in the description for you if you want to check that out. I love using felt to create seasonal shapes for affordable and colorful additions to my decor, and I have done both strawberries and lemons. So for the strawberries, I just cut out some stencils on my Cricut machine, but if you don't have that, you could easily find a picture of a strawberry on Google Images and then just print it out to the size that you want, cut it out, and you have a stencil that way as well. So there's a couple different ways to do this, and I decided to do both red felt as well as some fabric because you could do it a variety of different ways. Then I'm taking my little stencil piece for the leaves at the top and I'm cutting that out in a lighter green color. Then we're going to make these just like you would a pillow. We're going to glue around the outside, leave a little opening, and then stuff it with leftover pillow fluff. If you've got polyfill, you could also use some Dollar Tree little cotton balls if you want. There's a lot of different options. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You just want to puff it up. And then we are going to add some hot glue to my leaf and then add it to the top of all of my little strawberries. These you can make in a variety of different shapes, colors, sizes. The sky's the limit. You could also make little teeny ones and put them up in a garland. You could do lemons like I'm doing here. Pineapples would be cute. Limes. You could also cut out like a blue anchor and make a fun pillow like that. So a lot of these techniques you can definitely apply to whatever theme or themes that you use for your summer decor. So again, glue all around the outside with those two pieces that are the same size. Then we're going to glue it. And then here I'm just adding some leaves. Another quick thing you can add is some blanket stitching. And all you need to do is just start on one side and go around the outside, and this adds some fun whimsy to it as well. So this is another great thing to do while you are binging a show, and it's really nice for me. It's kind of like people use crocheting or other things to pass the time and zen out. I like to add blanket stitches to things. This technique is also great to use with fabric in smaller sizes for tiered trays like I did here. You can just throw them in mugs, throw them in little containers, and they just add some fun whimsy to decor. This next one is so fun because it is basically free. Grab some cardboard from the latest order that you've got, or even from a box that you have gotten food or groceries in, and trim it into a little popsicle shape. Then when you have the amount that you want, we are going to paint them. So here, again, you guys know I love Patriotic red, white, and blue, but you could paint these different colors. You could paint them colors of your favorite, like baseball team. There are so many different options. And again, use that painter's tape to get the lines that you're looking for. Once they are painted to your liking, go ahead and cut up some popsicle sticks. These are from Dollar Tree, and glue them to the back to create cute, cute little popsicles. Now you can leave them as is for little embellishments, but I strung mine up, and you could always make these into large, full-size popsicles as well. That's the great thing about these projects. You can take my ideas and make them into whatever works for your space, your supplies, whatever you're working with. You can always customize these. I'm going to take a little needle and use the opening in the corrugation of the cardboard to string these up, and you've got a adorable little garland that, again, you can customize to any of your colors. You can even paint these to look like watermelon or lemon, oranges if you do citrus. The sky is the limit. This Patriotic Planter would be a great project to do with kids, and all you need are some paint stir sticks. I ended up doing 2 packs of 10, and you're going to need to make a front, a back, and 2 sides. So for the front and back, you're going to do 6 paint sticks, and then I'm just using some of these smaller craft sticks from Dollar Tree to hot glue as a brace to hold them all together. So once we have 2 of those 6-piece wide pieces, then we're going to do 1 4-piece wide and then make another one. So you've got 2 6-wides and 2 4-wides. Then I'm gluing on some Dollar Tree tumbling tower blocks to act as a gripper, and it took me a little bit of trial and error, but I ended up gluing them onto the sides of the 4 pieces, and then I can use the other side of that little Jenga tumbling tower piece to glue it to the other side. So it's kind of a brace on both sides. And then once all of my hot glue was cooled and set, I painted the entire thing white. Then it was time to add the stars and stripes, so I started at the bottom and taped off even 1-inch painter's tape lines, and I went all the way up to about where I thought my stars should start, and then I taped off that section. The goal here is to make it look like a flag was essentially wrapped around the planter, and so I just did kind of the front and the side would be blue, and then the rest would be the stripes that you would see if the flag was wrapping around. I painted all of those openings red, and then I removed all of that painter's tape and then moved it just so I could protect the red stripes so I could paint the open section blue. Now here there's two different ways you could do it. You could easily add just some little decals onto there of the white stars, but I decided to create a stencil and then paint them on. I just wanted the whole thing to be painted without any like stickers on there in case I put it outside. I didn't want the heat to mess with the vinyl at all. I made all my little stars painted on, and then I just removed my stencil versus sticking on the decal, but you could easily do decals as well. And once that was done, it was good to go. If you're going to put it outside, I would suggest doing a sealant, but you could easily then put a vase inside for some real flowers. This would look beautiful with hydrangeas or tulips, or you can do what I did and use faux flowers and just stick them right inside. For this wreath, you're going to need 2 packs of clothespins as well as red, white, and blue spray paint, a wreath form, and some embellishments. I first spray painted my wreath form white so it didn't stand out with that green color, and then I clipped the clothespins onto an old box to make spray painting so much easier. I used 18 to paint them blue, and then after some quick math, I did 27 red and 27 white clothespins as well. Once everything was dry, I started by attaching the clothespins to the wreath form. I clipped the first row to the 2 middle wires, and then the second row to the inner 2 wires, leaving the outer ring bare for dimension. I started with 18 blue clothespins, and then I alternated 6 white, 6 red around the rest of the wreath form in the same 2-layer pattern that I did before. I added a few extra clips to even everything out at the end, and then to finish it off, I made a hanger with burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I added some of this Dollar Tree star scatter, and I just glued them randomly onto the section to give it a little bit more depth. This is a wreath I put out every year. This thing, honestly, I think is 5 years old. It's such an oldie but a goodie, and it's a great project to do with kids as well. I don't know what it is about outdoor patio stuff, but it always just adds up super fast. And so I decided to make these Kirkland Dupes with these threshold placemats that I got for $2.50 each versus $50 for a set of 6. I started with some masking tape and I taped off where I wanted my stars and stripes to go. And then I decided to use spray paint to get the coloration on there. Now I got a lot of questions when I originally did this about, is it crunchy? It's not like the softest thing, like you're not going to want to put your face on a pillow used with this technique, but it definitely is going to work perfect for what we need is a placemat. So don't worry about the crunchiness. I used a divider and spray painted the one side red, so then that way I had my stripes with the tape. I peeled off all of my pieces here once it had dried to reveal my beautiful red side. And then I'm going to take some more painter's tape just so it has a clean line between the red stripe and the blue. And then I'm going to add some 2-inch little stars that I cut on Cricut sticky cardstock, but you could also cut it on regular paper and tape it down with some painter's tape. And I'm going to stick them down to create the star side of my placemat. Then we're going to repeat the same step, but with some blue spray paint, give it a really good cover. And then when that's dry, you can peel off your little stars, and then I reuse them on the additional placemats. I let them fully dry outside in the sun and then overnight to make sure they were good to go. And these make such a really fun patriotic addition to my porch. And you can also do these in traditional summer colors or even tie-dye as well. This table runner definitely caught my eye and I wanted to dupe that as well from Kirkland's. And so I got this burlap table runner from Amazon for under $10. I measured each end so I knew how thick I wanted my star area to be, and I ended up doing that 12 inches from the end. Then I made some more stars with sticky cardstock. Again, these are 2 inches wide, and I applied them on either end. Then we're taking the same little priority mailbox I used to block it before, and the exact same spray paint technique. In the future, I would probably have used a darker navy, but I do like the way the blue pops in the sunlight. We're going to remove all of those little stars. And once that's done on either end, I used some painter's tape to do some straight lines across the center. And I also painted off just right at the edge of that blue section to protect that from this round of spray paint. Once I got all of those pieces taped out, then I could go through with the red. I was able to make it in the colors that I wanted. And then I have a set of placemats and a table runner that match with the same color. It went really well on our outdoor table, and it is a quick and easy way for Memorial Day, 4th of July, or even just the summer in general to add some patriotic and colorfulness to your patio. You could also do the stripes with a rainbow color for summer. That would be super fun. Or even like purples, oranges, yellows, summer sunshine colors. I love this so much. These come from the entertaining section at Dollar Tree. Just popped off the stickers and then got to work taping them off. So for the stripe one, I am using 2 pieces of painter's tape thick to create some thicker red and white stripes. And then I also use some tape to help me with the placement. And then for the stars, I'm just using some more of those little Cricut stickers. I just cut a huge sheet of them and used a bunch of them at once. And we're going to stick them down, making sure that we're aware of the grooves so that everything gets pushed down so there's no gaps. Then we're going to start on the stripes and we're going to paint the entire thing red. And then we're going to take some deep blue spray paint and do the stars. Then what we're going to do is remove all of those painter's tape, stickers and all, and then we're going to go over both of them with the white, so then that way the stars are white and the open stripes are white. These would be great for a dessert table. You could put cookies or cupcakes on there, or these are perfect with chargers on your table if you just want a decorative tablescape. And to round out our summer projects, I am going to wrap this up with one of my favorite things to grab at Dollar Tree for custom DIYs, and that is their t-shirts. They now have some other options as well because they have the plus section, but you can also grab these at any craft store. I did a couple of these patriotic ones a couple years back. You can do any summer thing, but I love this Hamilton one. I'm a Broadway fan. Let me know down below if you are a fan of musicals. I love Hamilton, so I found this file on Etsy and I applied it to the front of my shirt with some heat transfer vinyl. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and I added that quote on the back, so if you're familiar with Hamilton, when I meet Thomas Jefferson, I'll compel him to include women in the sequel, work. And I love that part. So you can do that with heat transfer vinyl. You can also do screen printing on the shirts. I love to do this for seasonal shirts. I wear this all the time. This shirt is so comfy. The Dollar Tree blank was awesome. And this is a quote from Legally Blonde. "You look like the 4th of July. You make me want a hot dog real bad," with Jennifer Coolidge's character. And so I screen printed this on the front. If you're interested in learning how to screen print, I have a full tutorial on how to do it with your Cricut, and I will link that for you. But this is a great way to make some seasonal items. You can also screen print tote bags, you can screen print koozies, so many different options, and it makes it really cost effective to make those seasonal, few time use things. So be sure to check out that screen printing one and my free file library if you're interested in any of these DIYs for summer. All right, craft buddies, that's going to do it for this video. Be sure to head down in the comments and let me know your favorite project. Also, be sure you're on my email list because that's how you're going to get access to all the printables and the free files I shared today. Thanks so much for watching today. Be sure to hit subscribe if you're new so you don't miss a future Whiskey and Whit video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!